Hello, and welcome to How to Build a Duplex Tent, starring Morgan Hill. The underside of the duplex tent is waterproof, but I still use a ground tarp because it helps protect the underside of the duplex tent, which is very fragile. Once you have laid out your duplex tent over your ground tarp, you will need 8 stakes to put into the ground to keep the tent upright. To start out, you will stake out 2 opposite corners. What you're going to do next is find 2 hiking poles that are about the same size, and you're going to put them in on either side like I'm showing, and use a stake to hold them down.
So if you look right here, there's a spot right above the zipper to put the hiking stick and make the stick go straight up and down.
Cameraman Connor is not very good at taking in the scene, but if you look at the tent, you can see that it arcs too much in the center, and that's bad. You want it to be mostly straight, so I will take it down and shorten the poles and retry. I ended up shortening the poles quite a bit, but in the end it did work out a little better. I don't know how long exactly they're supposed to be because I forgot, but over time it gets easier to set up the tent. You'll want to make sure that this strap right here is nice and tight like I'm doing. And as you can see, the top of the tent is flatter than it was before, which this right here is pretty close to perfect for how you want to look on the top.
And when you put your lines in, make sure they're, in line with the pole as well, so that way when you put the doors, this thing, it works. Okay. Never mind. Here we go.
Then you will want to go around and stake in the other 2 sides.
Something happened. Make sure it's nice and taut. See how it kind of makes these weird little creases when it does that? Or no, I bring it over here like that. So it kind of goes in line like to here. That kind of dealio. And then you use these to like stake down, and that makes the tent a little wider. Come over here, cameraman. Cameraman Dan. Let's do the same on this side. There we go. Yes, super sick. Let's be about right here, so then you have to move your stake. Sicko mode. And then put this little dongle. I think I give you. Boom. And when it rains, the water will hit the ground and then splash into your tent sometimes. So you might get a little wet if it's really pouring.
This is really well set up this time.
When setting the tent up using the external pole, you are provided with these 4 pole McJiggers that go on the outside of the tent. At the corners of the tent, there are these lines that have little O-rings that you thread the end of the poles through. Then at the other end of the pole, you put it through one of the 2 rings located above the pocket for the hiking poles. You do this on all 4 sides of the tent, going diagonally. Once you have each of the poles set up properly, you use this little dongle to wrap around these 2 poles on both sides. But because this pole is too tight, I cannot do that. So you would want to loosen it up if it's like this for you. Then you can wrap around, and when you do this on both sides, you can go around and tighten up each of the corners again. You don't want to tighten up the corners too much, or else that can bend the poles too harshly. So you want to make the string just tight enough so that the poles are holding the tent up tautly.
Some things to note about setting it up with these poles is when it gets really windy out, these will just bend inward like this, and your tent kind of falls apart. So that's why having the hiking poles are better. And
This is showing off some of the cool features about this duplex tent. You can roll up the doors, and during the summer it gets nice and breezy. And this is also what I like about having these freestanding poles, is that there's no stick in the middle of the door, so it's easier to get out of.